Hello, and welcome to the third in a series of short films about the women commemorated on the Dundee Women's Trail. Plaque number 11 is for Rebecca Strong. And Rebecca Strong was a matron who worked in Dundee Royal Infirmary. She wasn't there for terribly long, but she had an enormous impact when she was there. She transformed training for nurses and also the conditions for nurses. She had worked with Florence Nightingale, so she brought a lot of her ideas into Dundee. And everyone benefited enormously, patients and nurses alike. So the health and well-being of everyone was improved dramatically by Rebecca Strong. And she was also obviously quite a healthy person herself, because in her spare time, she went alpine climbing and she lived until she was, I think, actually about 100. So she obviously knew how to look after herself as well. Her plaque is opposite the Dundee Royal Infirmary. If you've listened to the previous film, you'll know that we couldn't get permission to put plaques actually on that building. They're now flats. But opposite the building, there is a park and there are pillars that go into at the entrance to the park. And on one side of the pillars, there is the plaque for Rebecca Strong, plaque number 11. And on the other side is the plaque for Margaret Fairley, number 10. And she also worked in DRI, and you can hear about her in a previous film. And both these women impacted hugely on the survival rate of patients. Plaque number 12 is for Jean Thomson. Jean was a police sister, which meant that she was employed it was supposed to be only for about 4 hours a day, but in fact it was far longer than that. It was almost full time. And what she did was she would patrol places like cinemas and dance halls, and interestingly enough, ice cream parlours. Apparently, ice cream parlours, gambling went on there, and also the sale of drugs. And obviously, as a woman, her main role was to deal with women, perhaps offenders or runaway girls. She liaised with the RSPCC as well. She wasn't recognised as a policewoman. The chief constable at the time wouldn't call her a policewoman, and in fact many years later even denied that there had been any women on the police force at all. However, she reported to gave evidence to the Baird Committee, which was looking at women in policing. And when she did that, she was referred to as a policewoman. So in a way, we feel that she does deserve the title of first policewoman. The official first policewoman in Dundee was not until 1935, but certainly the work that Jean undertook would not be that much different from future policewomen. And her plaque can be found on the police station. It's at the side of the police station, the main entrance to the police station. I think it's actually West Bell Street is the name of the street, but it's right beside the wee sort of dual carriageway, but it's a bit difficult to get up close and personal, and maybe you would never want to anyway, but you can see it there. Plaque number 13 is for Mary Alcock, who was originally Mary Ritchie. And she's on the trail not because of anything amazing that she contributed, really. It's more that she was quite an unusual woman, possibly even eccentric. She was the daughter of a shoemaker who left her his property when he died, and she set up a draper's business at 22 Barrack Street. And it was very successful, and within a number of years, she had actually accumulated about £10,000, and she decided that she would she would retire, because she was a bit worried that she might somehow come in for some sort of retribution from God for having earned so much money. And then she took to litigation. She she had a sort of hobby of suing people. She sued her business partner, and although she didn't bankrupt her business partner, but she did sue, and then she went through something like 9 different law firms. If she didn't like the way that they handled something, then she just sacked them, got a different law firm, who then she got them to sue the previous law firm. And because she had a fair amount of cash or money behind her, she realised that she was probably quite an attractive marriage prospect. So she had a lawyer put together like a marriage contract, but with the name of the person she was going to marry left blank. And she did eventually meet somebody called, I think it was in Leamington Spa, actually, a man called Mr. Alcock, and that's who she married with this prenuptial agreement. But the marriage wasn't a success, so she was obviously very smart to have got that all organised before the marriage took place. And yeah, so then on her own, she just kind of carried on with her hobby of litigation. And she was interested in the Mormon religion, and she wanted to go to Utah. She became Mormon. She wanted to go to Utah, but she never made that. And we don't know. I mean, when she died, there would still have been money, but we don't know who she left it to. And her plaque is in Barrack Street. It's on the shop that was Robertson's furniture store. So if you're down that way, do have a wee look at it. Plaque number 14 is for Victoria Drummond. I think she's quite an exciting member of our trio. She was a goddaughter of Queen Victoria. And from a very early age, she was interested in machinery and really practical things. And she wanted to be a marine engineer. And she studied part time at what was Bell Street Tech, and of course is now Abertay University. And that's where her plaque can be found. It's on the entrance in the old part of the building. Um, and she sailed the world in cargo ships and some real rust buckets, actually. And she saved her ships from sinking on more than one occasion. She was awarded the Lloyd's Medal for Bravery, and she received an MBE. And there is a room named after her in the Institute of, I think it's Royal Institute of Marine Engineers. So really quite a remarkable woman for her time, who obviously had a passion and a dream and made it into a reality. Plaque number 15 is for Katharine Read, who was an artist. She painted in pastels, and her family moved away from Dundee after 1745 because they were Jacobites. And a number of years later, she set up a studio in London. And she was very well known in her time. She was as well known as Joshua Reynolds or Gainsborough, and was able to command the same sort of fees as they were. The reason that you might not be aware of her artwork is because that she tended to paint for the aristocracy. She painted portraits of the aristocracy, and in fact, she became painter to the Queen, to Queen Charlotte. So the type of work that she was creating would tend to stay within families and wouldn't be exhibited in galleries around the world the way that other artists of the time, especially male artists of the time, artworks might have been. When we were putting up her plaque, we wanted to put it up on McManus Gallery as the main house of artwork in Dundee, or traditional artwork in Dundee. But there wasn't any of her work in the gallery. And that caused a little bit of a problem because, quite rightly, the staff in the gallery felt that it would be really disappointing for people to see the plaque on the outside of the building, but then go in and not to have any works of Catherine. So they actually tracked down some mezzotints of her work. So they are housed in the gallery. And in addition to that, there was a lovely spin-off. And I mentioned that sometimes that there are spin-offs to things on the Women's Trail. I mentioned that with one of our other women earlier in another film. But in this instance, the spin-off was that an art collector had a beautiful portrait of Katharine Read's niece that Katharine had painted, and he lent it to McManus Gallery. Now, the last time I was there, it was still on show up in the Victorian Gallery. So if you pop in, hopefully you'll see it if it's still there. But if it isn't, if it has moved since then, there is a lovely picture of it on our website.